Hi guys, so today I'm going to do a brief overview of the RF type approval requirements for Mexico, with some focus on the recent changes to the requirements that came into effect on the 25th of February. The communications regulator in Mexico is IFT, usually abbreviated to IFT. All products, equipment and devices intended for use in telecommunications or broadcasting can be connected to a telecommunications network or make use of the radioelectric spectrum are subject to mandatory IFT type approval in Mexico. The route to certification varies depending on the technology of the device and the Mexican norms that apply to it. For those of you not at all familiar with Mexican certification requirements, norms are official Mexican standards which call up the relevant technical provisions and include the legal background, transition arrangements, and other references. Key Mexican norms and technical provisions applicable to RF devices are showing on the screen now. Applications for approval can be processed on a paperwork-only basis for devices not governed by either NOM 208 CFI 2016 or IFT 2011-017 Part 2. Products governed by those standards will be subject to test requirements either in Mexico or at a foreign recognised lab. And for devices containing a combination of radios that are governed by either NOM 208 SCFI 2016 or IFT 2011-017 Part 2 and radios that are not, a combined route to approval must be sought, with the device being subject to both the test requirements and also the technical expert review process. All of this remains the same under the new requirements, and importantly note that the new requirements apply only to those products which are subject to test requirements. The applicant for IFT approval must be a company registered in Mexico. For products not subject to the test requirements, an independent holder can be used, and the approval may be leveraged by multiple parties. Under the new regulations applicable to products subject to the test requirements, each importer will be required to hold their own approval. Approval certificates can only be shared by companies that are subsidiaries of the approval holder and have an official legal affiliation with them. Those subsidiaries must be listed on the approval certificate. So as of this February, there are 4 different certification schemes categorised as shown on screen now. Among other things, the new regulations give greater emphasis on the surveillance measures to be conducted by the certification body. Scheme 1 is applicable for manufacturers wishing to export a single consignment of the product into Mexico. In this case, no market surveillance measures will be applied. Scheme 2 is applicable for standard approvals of a single model that will be imported on an ongoing basis. Scheme 3 applies to family approvals. Certain conditions must be met in order for products to be classified as a family. These are shown on the screen now. Scheme 4 applies to products used in an IoT network or for very short-range radio communication, and is the only scheme through which radio modules can be approved. Looking more generally at the routes to approval, if certifying your device via a paperwork-only route, paperwork applications must be submitted to a technical expert authorised by IFT. The technical expert will review the application and issue documentation confirming the results of their analysis, such as the technical parameters of the device. The documentation prepared by the technical expert is then included in an application to IFT, and a provisional approval certificate will be issued. If your device is subject to testing, the application must be submitted to a certification body who will officially confirm the applicable norms. Samples must then be submitted to an accredited test laboratory. This may be a Mexican laboratory or a foreign laboratory accredited under MRA. Test reports will be issued and submitted to a certification body. The certificate of conformity will be issued by the CB, and the final application will be submitted to IFT with permanent approval certificate issued. Where local testing is being carried out, sample requirements vary depending on the product. However, typically you would need to supply 1 as sold for devices subject to NOM 208, 1 as sold and 1 conformance sample for devices subject to IFT 2011-017 Part 2. When applying for family approval, you need to supply samples from 2 of the models in the family, so 4 samples in total. For manufacturers with more than one importer, and therefore requiring multiple approvals for the same product, it should be possible for the test laboratory to either provide additional copies of the test report in the name of each importer without retesting, or with retesting but utilising the same samples depending on the internal procedures of the lab. Documentation currently required to be included in applications is shown on the screen now. Once IFT approval has been issued, products are included on the Approved Products database on the IFT website. Provisional approval certificates are valid for 1 year, after which a permanent approval certificate can be sought. The renewal process is via paperwork submission only, and the certificate number remains the same after renewal. It is important that renewal applications are submitted to IFT ahead of the date of expiration, otherwise a new provisional approval must be sought, including retesting. And in that case, the approval number would change. Once approved, products must be marked with the IFT equipment identifier, example showing on the screen now. All approvals, aside from those issued under the new Scheme 1 for batch approvals, are subject to surveillance and monitoring of compliance. Surveillance measures for the new requirements will start from next year. Finally, we're receiving a lot of inquiries regarding modular approvals under the new scheme. So I can clarify that modular approval is no longer permissible for Mexico, with the exception of modules included in IoT networks, which can be approved under Scheme 4. For those cases, the devices into which the modules are installed must be included on the approval certificate. Existing modular approvals may continue to be used only if they are issued in the name of the importer of the host device. Where this is not a case, those approvals are no longer valid and you must reapply in the name of the host. We'll be publishing further updates as IFT issue more clarification on the changes. However, if you have any specific questions, then do get in touch.